This video is only one part of an in-depth review, so check out the rest at thegoodride.com. Thanks for watching. Welcome to The Good Ride. I'm James Beastie, and I'm deeply committed to an open relationship with snowboard gear. This is the Rome Cleaver. To give you a short summary, this is a very responsive, very powerful binding that has some new upgrades this year, like with the base. It has a new material in the base. It feels pretty light, not super light, not heavy, kind of right in the middle, and that's perfect. The big differentiator with this guy is you have adjustable response. You can bring this down to have a more mellow response, or bring it up and have a more powerful turn initiation response. And I really like that. I found that this works with a wide variety of boards. I really enjoyed these bindings. I could have a great life with them, and I think they're highly recommendable for anybody who wants a very responsive binding that you can mellow out with some boards and get crazy with others. Now let's talk weight. These are 2 pounds. All the Rome bindings are 2 pounds. They used to feel a little heavier, maybe like most Rome bindings. This is my first experience with the Cleaver, but most Rome bindings used to feel like maybe 2.4 pounds, a little heavier, and it was noticeable on your foot. This has that weight that doesn't feel heavy, doesn't feel light, just doesn't bother you underfoot. But still has that damp, amazing feel. So really cool when it comes to weight there. Now when it comes to Highback Flex, these are stiff. You can see there's almost no twist. There's a little give, which I like, but nothing really going back. Just the tiniest little feel here. Compare that to the Katana. There's a little more twist here and a little more give going back. And let's just go through the line. Why not? The Boss is even stiffer than the Katana. Vice is more like the Katana, a little softer flex there. I really like the flex of the Vice. And then here's the DOD, which is pretty stiff. Kind of right, almost right there with the Cleaver. So when it comes to flex underfoot and butterability, it's very good. I was surprised that this full wrap binding did almost as good as an ASIM wrap Katana, because both have this bottom, and you can see it has this cool foam. It's kind of like the Adidas tactical ADV foam. It looks almost like the same thing that gives a bit throughout the bottom here. It's very shock absorbent too, but what it does is it allows the binding to just have this contact point around the disc here. And this is a mini disc, but it's not ultra mini. And I'll show you here. Like here's a mini disc from Union, and then here's the Rome mini disc. It's a little bigger than the Union mini disc and has just a little bit more staying power. You can even mount it as a like you would a full-size disc. And here's a full-size disc from Union, and you can see that the full-size disc is a good bit bigger. So it has a nice balance between butterability and just feeling stable and giving that board just a little bit more stiffness underfoot and giving you that response, but very cool. So going from butterability to response, these Cleavers are very responsive. They're like, they could power any board I have in my quiver, and any board that's sent to me, they've just got response written all over them. The double wrap as opposed to the ASIM wrap gives this a touch more response. But what really did it for me was this adjustable thing right here. They do this on both sides, and you can do this with the Cleaver, the Katana, the Black Label, and the Vice. You can bump this up higher. It just has almost infinite adjustability. I think they said something like 64 ways you can set this up. You feel a massive difference in response from the highest setting to the lowest setting. When the ankle strap is up high on you, it's way more supportive and responsive. And then when you lower it, you get more freedom of movement and it mellows out the response. So it's very good to match up with any kind of board. So if you have a quick turning board, maybe a middle to lower response setting might be great. If you have a more demanding board that needs a lot of binding and boot, a lot of effort on your end, this will alleviate some of that and make it a lot easier. So really like that. Now when it comes to shock absorption and dampness, now they have this Adidas tactical ADV style foam. Kind of looks like it belongs on a cooler, but when you feel it, it is much more damp and responsive. I've found that this does a great job at dampening things without hindering response too much. And it's not too deep throughout the base, but in some places it is. And I really like it. Some people who want more of a skate-like feel might not like this and want more contact with the board. They won't like this. But if you're somebody who really loves shock absorption and a cushy ride while still not detracting too much from response, you're gonna really like this. And I just felt it was like this nice balance of damp without hindering the response too much. The only thing that bummed me out is here throughout all the bindings, whether you're using this tech or the other stuff like from this guy that's kind of like more of a traditional EVA foam, these things just kept coming off. So maybe when you get them, the first time they come off, be mindful, look for this, and then take some super glue and just put them on permanently. But overall, really impressed with this shock absorption system. And then you can see there's just dampness throughout the heel and the toe. It's a very shock absorbent binding. Now, when it comes to support, usually I'm not that into Rome's toe straps, but this year I really enjoyed it. Maybe it's because I switched from Adidas boots to Burton boots, or maybe it's just something they did with their binding here, but I had no problem and no complaints with this toe strap. This plastic on the outside was hard enough to hold on to my boots, and then this would give enough but not give too much because this plastic was so hard on the sides here, and it made it fit around my boot really well, and it didn't come off much or at all, just like every other good toe strap. Ankle strap was great too. It felt very supportive. If you compare this, let's say, to Flux, they have their ankle strap on the inside here, and others have it right close to the binding. This is way outside of the binding, but I just really loved how supportive it still felt, even though it's so far outside compared to a lot of other bindings, especially like Flux. But I just felt like this adjustability thing really dialed up the support. So while it might be further outside your boot, it's just higher up, so it really wrapped around well, and I didn't have an issue with that. The ratchets are great. Didn't even notice them. They're very smooth on and off. And you know, that's the best sign about a pair of ratchets. If they just don't even call attention to themselves, that means they're pretty good. When it comes to adjustability, there is a good bit of boot to binding adjustability. You just have toolless straps that pop off here. You can adjust positions in this here. You can put one back or put it forward. Both sides here, you can see that there. So you can just pop it down and bring it forward. That's really cool. But then you have a heel loop that can slide on the base plate here, and you can adjust that. That's really cool. The toe ramp slides. You can adjust the heel loop for your boot size or your boot footprint, and you can get this centered in your binding and therefore center your disc on board. And you've got normal old forward lean, very toolless, very easy. But speaking of stance width adjustability, one thing I touched on quickly when I was talking about Flex Underfoot, but I'd like to talk about this more because it's just so cool. You can set this up mini disc, you can set this up for Burton channel, but you can also set this up for full size disc. You don't have any slide. It just fits in at the ends of each side here, but it works. And if you have a board with setback inserts and the stance width works for you with those setback inserts, it will always be better with Burton bindings because you can slide it even at full size. But this is a nice compromise for a mini disc. You can set this up with full size inserts and can't slide it, but you can set it up. It's just like Burton Reflex, so it's a nice competitor to that. And then if you don't have that, you have mini disc, you can set it up mini disc and get decent slide from insert to insert pack, and that's really cool. So excellent adjustability at mini disc, no adjustability at full-size disc, but it actually works at full-size disc, so that's really cool. And overall, the Cleaver is the kind of binding I could own and use and have a beautiful life with. It's very recommendable. I think the Katana had just a little more appeal to me, but this adjustable response, this just damp, shock absorbent, not too heavy, not too light binding, does an amazing job, and it's a binding I'm going to be recommending a lot to people who want a lot of response. All our reviews are a best effort, objective opinion from an average rider's perspective. There's no brand oversight, and we're free to say whatever we want. We send back everything unless it's a favorite, then we ask to keep those or straight up buy them. Now, if you need advice, fill out the eHarmony profile in the Contact Us section of the site. It's the only way I can help you properly. If you want to support us, and if what we reviewed appeals to you, it helps if you buy through our links. So, thanks for watching.